Staind frontman Aaron Lewis recently announced upcoming plans to reunite the band after an extended hiatus of several years at the upcoming Louder Than Life festival. This was something that was highly anticipated by fans and rumored for some time. But Aaron Lewis also recently released his country music album, State I'm In, and as part of that album, he gave an extensive interview to Variety in which he touched on some personal turmoil he's been facing. First of all, he spoke on what inspired him to initially become a songwriter and perform with the band, to which he said, "Well, I hate to beat a dead horse, but the first time I ever saw Limp Bizkit, I was standing dead center stage about 5 rows back when they started playing Stuck, and it was their first song of the evening, and it was during that time frame. I remember it clear as day. Wes was wearing the clockwork orange nose and a corset. I just remember at the beginning of that song, my feet came up off the ground, I was at the front of the mosh pit, and when I landed back on the ground again, I was completely behind the mosh pit, probably 100 yards from the stage, and I didn't do it." So moving on, most interestingly and notably, Aaron Lewis touches on some personal turmoil in his life, and he says that he has lost everything that has ever meant something to him. So the writer of this article asked Aaron Lewis about how he wrote the songs on this album, and he got quite personal. He said, "The songs I wrote on this record, they were some dark times. It's interesting, this life that some of us are blessed to live, it's kind of like an old saying where you sell your soul to the devil to get here. I don't know if that's really the deal, but I will say that along with living my dreams and having this crazy ride I've been on, while that was all going on, without cognitively realizing it, I've lost everything that's meant something to me in my life. So while I've been distracted by quote-unquote living my dreams, it's cost me everything." So I think there's some truth to that old adage of selling your soul to the devil to do this. It's cost me friends, family, everything that means really anything at the end of the day, when everything is gone and everyone has gone to bed, and now it's just you and the ceiling you're staring at. Those things that at that moment matter the most, it's everything that's gone. I have a sneaking suspicion that it would probably be a pretty common thread for those of us lucky enough to have this crazy ride. I don't know why my ticket has been such an extended ride, but while I've been on that ride, life has been going by out the window. Now, it's unclear just what that personal turmoil is for Aaron Lewis, but he is quite candid on stage, so if you were able to catch him at a recent show, you never know, he could talk a little bit more in depth about that. He has talked about going to rehab in the past, but it's unclear specifically what he may be referring to. And of course, he was also asked about being politically incorrect on stage and whether or not he worries about the press he receives from some of the statements he makes on stage. He says, "You just try not to have it affect the show. I really try to reinvent the whole show every night. I try so hard to make the same jokes, not to tell the same stories or tell them the same way. I really put a lot of creative energy into the show, so that leaves me very vulnerable to saying things that I might not have thought hard enough about before they came flying out of my mouth. It doesn't mean I don't stand by them, it just means I didn't have the time in the situation to be able to cognitively think or to edit or filter myself. My life does not consist of walking out on stage and playing a 90-minute or 2-hour show. I have 22 hours of life left in the day that has all sorts of things flying at me in all different directions and all sorts of people trying to pull me in different directions. Again, I'm a regular guy just like everybody else that has serious issues. I just have this job. I'm a human being. I'm not a machine. I have a breaking point just like everyone else, but nobody else gets put on blast for it. I believe too strongly. I'm not passionate so to soften up the edges. I feel like that takes away from the message a little bit. Sometimes the edges aren't supposed to be soft. Sometimes people need to grow a thick skin and have a backbone and thicken their skin up a little bit. Political correctness is destroying this country from the inside out. Nobody can say anything anymore. It can be as true as the day is long, but you can't say it. Aaron Lewis, again, will be reviving Staind for a one-off gig. It's unclear if they have any additional plans in the future, but we're going to keep you posted. He also just released his album, State I'm In, his country record, is solo released this past Friday, so be sure to check that out wherever digital music is streamed or consumed. You can stick with Rockfeed for updates on this story. You can subscribe with notifications on as well so you don't miss out on breaking hard rock and heavy metal news. Thanks so much for joining us here today, and we'll see you all very soon.